Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/First Class Life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/First Class Life.
It was hard. So I always encourage people when they're thinking, they're saying, I'm going to do this really hard thing. How do I find the motivation? You have to find the why that is stronger than your fear. A lot of times talk about, well, what's the why? I want to be rich. I want to have more things. I want to reclaim my time. What does that mean? Is being rich, is reclaiming your time stronger than the fear of your failure? Is it stronger than the fear of you feeling like you may be ridiculed for what it is that you stand for? What is the why that's stronger than your fear? For me, the whys that were stronger than my fear came down to visualizing my youngest son at the time that he was 4, being able to drive me around when he was 17 or 18 years old. I visualized that, right?
You're listening to the First Class Life show hosted by Lindsay Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey there. Welcome to another episode of the First Class Life Show with your host, Lindsay Vertner. That is me. And we have a lovely guest, Miss Deana Jean, with us in the First Class Life studios today. I'm super excited for you guys to hear from her. We have connected via Clubhouse. Y'all remember that app? We connected there, and we're co-hosts of a few different rooms, so I've gotten to know her, and I just love what she's about, and I'm super excited for her to share with you today. And so y'all already know how we do. We just hop right into the conversation because we don't have time to wait, right? You guys are high achieving leaders and you're out there maximizing your impact and creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So we got to get right to it, okay? Miss Deana Jean, let the lovely people know who you are. What do you do? Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Lindsay? First of all, thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be here and to dig into this conversation. Hey to all of the listeners. Hey to all of the listeners. As Lindsay mentioned, my name is Deana Jean. I am a Brooklyn girl, born and raised. I'm a mom of 3. I'm a wife of 1. And I'm a girl who's all about helping folks live in their intention and live their very best life with what they have inside of them. And that's the work that I do in my life. And that's what I do in my home. And that's the life that I try to live. So I always love being able to connect with other folks with intention. So that's why this conversation is going to be so exciting today.
Yes. Now, I know a few New Yorkers, and so you grew up in the Bronx. I have not been to the Bronx. I have been to New York, but I haven't been to the Bronx.
So I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl.
Brooklyn. Why was I thinking? You know what? You did say Brooklyn.
See, that's how we know you're not in New York, because Brooklyn and the Bronx are different, right? Like, we're real different. I love my Bronx people. Some of my closest friends are from the Bronx, but no, I'm a Brooklyn girl. I'm from Bushwick, Brooklyn.
And you know what? I had a whole little thing that, as you said Brooklyn, I thought Bronx, because I was going to go like this. And I was like, wait, no, I think that's Bronx, not Brooklyn. And then I still ended up saying, oh, you're from the Bronx.
Listen, it's raw and uncut. This is what it is. This is what it is. But yes.
Yes, we keep it real. So tell us, what was that like growing up as a child in Brooklyn?
Yeah, you know what? I had a pretty, I would say, traditional life. So my mom is an educator. I grew up in a 2-parent family. My dad worked a number of different jobs. A lot of times he worked like 2 or 3 jobs. My mom was a banker for many years, and then she decided she wanted to be a teacher after having my brother, after being a banker for 15 years. And that was really cool because my mom has always been a teacher. Today's actually my mom's birthday. So shout out to her. But she's always been a teacher at heart. So I grew up with just a huge emphasis and value on education and fit. Those were always the most important things. Show up consistently, do your best, show up with integrity. And I had, like I said, a really traditional childhood, lots of friends, super diverse neighborhood. And I have really distinct opportunity and pleasure of having friends from like when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old, who are still really close friends to me now. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that we grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, now, sometimes that can be a rare unicorn find where you have friends that you developed at such a young age that you're still close with now. What do you think are some of the contributing factors to maintaining those connections?
That's a great question because I'm all about connections, right? It's one of those things where when I reflect on it now, it's like, this is work that I've always done, right? Understanding how to connect with people with intention. I think the first thing is that the friends that I still have from that time are friends who, from the very first time that we met each other and throughout our entire lives, we've embraced our authenticity. We have never felt like we had to put on airs or kind of fit the mold or fit the crowd. So as we each have evolved over the years and over our lives, we still embrace that about each other because we're still who we were at our core. The second thing is that I think it's really important to connect with people with intention and to honor people for their gifts. And for me, that's been a great way to stay connected to people because I've always been able to reflect on what someone does really well and pull them into projects or pull them into relationships or connect them to other people. So that's been a really important factor. And then the last piece that I would say is just transparency, like being very transparent about who you are, where you are in your life. We go through so many different stages in our lives, especially as women, right? And it's so important as we're making those transitions and as we are evolving and maturing in life, that we're transparent about those things and making sure that folks understand, I may not be exactly who I was at that point in time. I may have some things that are different about me, but really embracing that transparency and having open and honest conversations around it.
Yes. So you said you guys would connect with intention. You would embrace your authentic self so you didn't have to put on a front and pretend to be something that you're not. You honored each other's gifts, and then you were transparent with one another.
Yeah.
I love that. The First Class family, I hope y'all are listening and taking notes, okay? All about building those connections. Now, I want to go back to embracing authenticity because I know, especially as we're younger and we're growing and developing who we are, kids can be brutal, okay? Like, you ugly, blah, 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 right? Kids will speak their mind and not think twice about it. So what were some of those factors, do you think, that helped you guys to feel comfortable enough to be your authentic selves and not pretend to be something else to fit in with the in crowd?
It's such a great question. And now as a mom, because I have 2 preteen boys and I have a 5-year-old daughter. Yep. So I have a 12-year-old son, I have an 11-year-old son, and my daughter is going to be 6 in July. And when I look at them now and I look at the way that they engage with their friends and I kind of look at how life is so different from them now, I really am in awe of how confident me and my friends were with being our authentic selves when we were that age. And I think it had a lot to do, first of all, with our foundation. We each came from families that required us to embrace who we were at the most authentic kind of core of who we were. And it actually goes back to that education piece too, because the friends that I'm still really connected to from that time are friends that I actually met in a magnet school. So in New York, you have public schools, and because obviously it's such a huge city, there are different areas and kind of different different segments of public schools. And one of those segments is the gifted and talented program, where you don't go to your zone school, but you actually can take a test to go to a school that has a special program. And there are all types of awesome things that happen there. You have an accelerated curriculum. There are all types of extracurriculars. And when I think about the friendships that I made, those are the folks that I met in that program at that school, right? And all of us honored our education. We came from families that really honored education and authenticity. But most of all, we were in an environment educationally that actually encouraged us to show up as ourselves, to have a voice. And I think that that helped a ton as well.
Yes. See, listen, I love that you had a family that encouraged you to be confident and embrace who you are, because that is important, what we pour into our children, for those of us with children, but also what we pour into ourselves, because not everybody comes from that background where they had a family that could say, you could do it, and love your skin, love your hair, love your glasses, love your freckles, whatever it is that you might see as an insecurity. So what advice would you give to those leaders that are listening that maybe didn't come from that supportive background on how they can build their confidence up?
Yeah, and even I will say, Lindsay, even with all of that, right? Like even coming from the family that I came from, being surrounded by the friends and the people that I was surrounded by, I still, when I was younger and even as I grew older, had I struggled through, self-image issues and things like that. So my nose was too broad just because I kind of thought it was too broad, right? I always felt like I was a child who I developed very, very young. Right? So by the time I was 7 years old, I was actually wearing a training bra. 7 years old. Can you imagine being 7 years old?
I'm still wearing a training bra.
Can you imagine wearing a training bra at 7 years old? I actually started my menstruation when I was 9 years old. Right? And that brought about, a lot of attention and things like that you're not prepared for when you're younger, right?
Right.
So I say all that to say, for me, I would say that if you are a leader who did not necessarily have, even with me having all of the support that I had, me still going through those things, the biggest factor for me in improving my confidence, giving me the opportunity and the space to really and truly be authentic, has been around surrounding myself with the people that I want to emulate, surrounding myself with people who I look at and I say, oh my gosh, I wish I had the confidence of this person. This person is doing something that I could not even imagine myself that I could do. By surrounding myself with those people, that has been a huge game changer for me. Because first of all, it makes those goals and those achievements actually like palpable and like manageably, you can touch them, right? It makes it relatable. But then secondly, I say all the time, when you walk, right, with someone else, one of two things is going to happen. Either they are going to adjust to your pace or you're going to adjust to theirs. You want to be surrounded by people who are consistently requiring you to adjust your pace, to skip a little bit, to feel like you're a little out of breath when you walk, to build up that stamina. So I would say surround yourself with those folks that are going to push you.
I love that you said that, because that is so true. We are the average sum of the 5 people we hang around with most. And it's so crazy. I literally was just having this conversation yesterday about people are either going to require you to rise up, or you don't value that relationship enough and you're going to fall back if they require that of you. But then there are also people that don't require anything of you, which allows you to be complacent in where you are. It allows you to be stagnant, allows you to put off that growth that is within inside of you. So you have to be mindful of which group of people you're hanging around. Are you hanging around people that let you, do foul things or kind of remain the status quo, right, so to speak? Or Or are you hanging around people that are going to make you be a better person and improve and really step into your purpose and impact? So I love what you said, my girl.
Yes, and it's all about proximity too, right? Because, a huge part of this too is being able to realize that, like, you also don't want to feel like when you make it, right? When you get to that next level, that you have to completely do away with all of the people that kind of were there with you when you were coming up. Realizing and understanding that there are different people who play different roles. I just had a conversation with a client about this, where we were talking about how she was working with someone and she had hired someone to do something. And she realized that the role that she hired them to do was not a good fit. She was like, I need to sever the relationship. I need to sever the ties. And I said, well, let's think about it. There was something that you saw in this person initially that made you retain them. Ask yourself, challenge yourself. Is it that they were not equipped for this specific role, or that you put them in a role that they were not necessarily equipped for, right? Did they come to you and ask for this position? Or did you put them in a role that would not necessarily allow them to be able to show up well? Consider, are there other things that they can be doing in your life where they can add value that allows them to show up in a way that really helps them to be able to serve with their gift? And that's the same thing that I would say about the way that we surround ourselves with people. Understanding and realizing the positions that people play in our lives and how to put them in a position that allows for them to show up as their best self, but also allows for you to be able to get the best outcome.
Yes. And that plays into what you were speaking about, honoring other people's gifts. Yes. We all have these different gifts, and it's important that you try not to do all the things. Listen, and I'm preaching to the choir right now, okay? Because I've had my moments where I was trying to do all the things, and what happens is we get burnt out, we get resentful, we get stressed, and all of those negative qualities that pop up. And so we have to remember, like, I have my gift, you have your gift. Right. How can we make these gifts work together? So what are some of the tips that you would say in helping yourself, especially if you are that type A that feels like you have to do all of the things, helping yourself to just step back and be like, you know what, I'm going to allow this person to walk in their gift and help me in this area.
Oh my gosh. So Lindsay, this is why I love these types of conversations, because it is organically leading into a lot of what I do, like as a coaching consultant, but a lot of how I live my life. So I actually have a networking strategy that's called Goals, Gifts, and Gaps. And this networking strategy is specifically tailored toward high-performing women who want to do all of the things, and they can do all the things for all the people, but it's difficult for them to get out of their heads and into action for themselves. The idea is that we don't ask for help. And typically there are going to be 3 reasons why we don't. And this is going to get to the tips, right? The first is that we are not able to clearly communicate always what we need help with, because we have not taken our goal and broken it down into something tangible and actionable that others can help with and that we can communicate to others. So it starts with getting clear about your goal. What do you want to accomplish? Next thing is that our gifts. A lot of times we have been taught as women to not boast about our gifts, right? That when you're being of service to someone else, that to be braggadocious about your own gift is actually not a good thing, right? That it diminishes other people. Or we are not taught, or we don't understand how to communicate our gift, how to be able to express what our gift is to others, so that when we are approaching people for networking or when we're approaching someone for a favor, it feels salesy because we're not leading with how we can help or support other people, right? And then the final thing is the thing that you were getting into a little bit, is our gap. Is that as high-performing women who are used to doing all the things, being amazing, right, being the one that everyone calls on for all the things, we feel some kind of way about the things that we don't do well. Regardless of what it is, we feel like we should be able to do all the things. It's unrealistic. It doesn't make sense. But instead of us feeling accomplished and excited about our gifts, we actually start to diminish ourselves and devalue ourselves because of our gaps. So the idea of goals, gifts, and gaps is first get really clear about your goal, what it is that you want to accomplish. The second thing is understand what your gift is, because that is the area that you need to be operating in as much as possible. That's going to help you to know where you should be spending your time. What are the things that fill you up? And then the things that fall outside of that, instead of having it be a gap and saying to yourself, all right, well, I'm not good at digital marketing, so I can't start a business. Actually see that as an opportunity to allow someone else to serve in their gift. Give somebody else an opportunity to serve in the way that makes them feel good. And when you find a match between those three things, goals, gifts, and gaps, you are going to find and build a success tribe of people that are all operating in their gifts. Everybody's going to be energized. You're not going to be overwhelmed because you have a team of Avengers and people who operate in their gifts that are all doing their own thing, and that you get to serve those people in your gift. So those are the things that I would say. Get clear on your goals, get clear on your gift, and go ahead and fill those gaps with some powerhouse folks. And you're going to feel much better about what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes. Goals, gifts, and gaps. Okay. I love how you just broke that down, and all of it is so true. And I'm sure all of the First Class family that is tuned in right now can relate to that in some type of way. And even just thinking back to those moments whenever I was trying to do all of the things, it's like, girl, you can't do everything for everybody. I know that's one thing that a lot of my clients struggle with, is constantly feeling like they have to do all the things for all the people all the time. And it's like, and you wonder why you're exhausted at the end of the day, but you really have to step back and allow yourself that grace and allow yourself to say, all right, I can't do it everything, and I'm not meant to do everything. So what can I focus on that I am good at, and allow somebody else to focus on that they're good at? Right. And we work towards this common goal. So I love how you defined and broke all of that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it's a gift to serve, but it's also a gift to be able to allow other people to serve. Mm-hmm. That's the greatest gift you can give someone. Think about how you feel when you know that you can be of service to someone else. It's an amazing feeling. So we got to try to spread that out.
Yes. And whenever we don't, we rob people of that opportunity.
Rob them of that opportunity. And the hard part is, and I know that you can relate to this, Lindsay, sometimes it's not until we get to our lowest point that we realize and we understand the value and the gift of allowing others to serve us in the way that they want to and that they can, right? For me, this was something that I really did not really truly embrace until I had a life event that required me to not rest, but stop, right? Like, it wasn't even, because God was like, no, I can't say rest to you because you just not,
you ain't gonna do it.
You just gonna be shut all the way down, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And when that happened, it required me to lean on others and allow them to serve me in a way that brought them joy. And that's when I started to realize, people feel like you have to be strongest to do all the things. No, your real strength is when you are able to allow others to operate in their strength and to allow yourself to be in a place to acknowledge that you are human, that you are flesh, and that you need to be able to rejuvenate, reflect, rest in order to pour from your overflow, right? From the overflow of your cup.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Yes, yes. Now, go ahead and fill us in on that life event. Walk us through that journey as far as, what it was like before, during, and after, because like you said, it made you stop. What no taking a rest. And that was a big adjustment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so just kind of tell us what it was and how you got through.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is, back in 2015, I was at the time a mom of two. At the time, my boys were actually 5 and 4 and had a thriving career as a sales executive and a sales manager. Have over a 15-year career in sales leadership, from everything from frontline sales all the way up to the C-suite of sales. My husband was in a military career coming toward the end of his military career, had about 4 or 5 years in. We're thriving, doing really well, right? And found out very, very surprisingly that we were going to be having another baby. This was not part of the plan, right? This is one of the things that God said, oops, like, you think, but I know. So after we got over the shock of it all, it was right around Christmas of 2015, we started to get really excited. Because we were like, you know what, this is cool. Because our boys are 19 months apart. At the time when we had them, like, things were cool, but we felt like we were both at kind of the beginning, middle of our careers. We felt like we were constantly running, doing. I felt like I was pregnant for 3 years, right? It's like, we've had a break now. We're in a different place. And we ended up finding out that we were going to have a little girl, which was like, whoa, because that was kind of what we were trying to avoid, but it is what it is, right? And got excited about it, told our family and friends. And then 5.5 months into my pregnancy, I ended up being diagnosed with stage 2B breast cancer, right? Smack dab in the middle of my pregnancy with my daughter. And the interesting part about it was that I actually found my own lump and had to advocate for myself for almost 6 weeks with my doctor to be imaged because he did not want to image me because I was pregnant. And as you might know, when you're pregnant, they want minimal radiation. And he thought that I was overreacting. He thought that I was, that I didn't know my body as well as I did. This is a doctor that had delivered my boys. He was like family to us. And he had actually examined me and told me, no, this is fine. It's just little milk duds. And so, or milk ducts, not milk duds, milk ducts.
Yeah. I thought you were just like giving it some flavor.
Ducks, right? So, and I kept going back. I was like, nope, something's not right. And he said, well, Deana, come back in a couple of weeks. And when you come back in a couple of weeks, if it's still there, I will image you. I'll have them do a sonogram of you, which is like the lightest imagery you can possibly have. Went, no problem. And so ended up getting an appointment for the Tuesday before Good Friday. I went in to get my sonogram that Tuesday. They immediately imaged me that Wednesday, and I was diagnosed that Thursday with stage 2B breast cancer while I was pregnant with my daughter. The world stopped. Everything stopped. I called my OB, and he was in surgery. And when he called me back, Lindsay, he was sobbing. I mean, he was sobbing. He could not believe. He said, Deana, I had no idea. Like, I've never seen this presented in this way. And he had never actually had a patient who had been diagnosed with breast cancer while pregnant. I said, well, what do I do? And he's like, I don't know. And I called my primary care physician, and she's like, I've never worked with, a patient who had this situation. So ultimately, after having a breakdown, right, I started to think about the power of connection. And I started to think about the relationships that I had built on authenticity, integrity, and gifts. And I started to make phone calls. And in making those phone calls, I was able to identify that I knew people who knew people in really, really high places who, based off of the relationships and the connections that we had made over the years, were ready and willing and excited to be able to call in a favor. I allowed people to be able to serve me based on their gifts and what they did well. And within 12 hours of me getting my diagnosis, I was actually able to have 3 phone consults with the 3 most prominent medical directors of the 3 most prominent cancer centers in the country. And the very next day, Good Friday, was sitting in the office of the woman who would become my oncologist, who had experience in working with women who were pregnant while being diagnosed with breast cancer. And I hadn't even been staged yet. I didn't know if it was a 4, a 1, I didn't know anything. And I went into her office and she said, Deanna, I want to tell you 2 things. She said, no, 3 things. She said, yes, this is a very aggressive form of cancer. She said, that's the first thing you need to know. She said, this cancer is not treatable. It's curable. You can cure this cancer. She said, this is the 3rd thing, though. This will be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. You, up until this point, have not done anything this hard. And you need to know that going into this. She said, because it's one thing to be pregnant, and it's another thing to be diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's another thing to be a mom of 2. And it's another thing to be a sales professional, but you got all these things working. And she said, you just have to commit to this process. And I said, well, you said it's curable, right? She said, yeah. I said, all right, well, it's finite, right? I could do hard things, especially if I know what the outcome is going to be. So long story shortish, over the next year, I ended up going through chemo treatments while pregnant with my daughter. I ended up having an emergency C-section with her, and it was actually supposed to be just a regular induction that turned into an emergency C-section because she stopped breathing. So that was the thing we were trying to avoid, but we ended up having an emergency C-section. The next week, they rolled me right back into chemo. I continued my chemo with my stitches. And from there, with the newborn and with the boys and my amazing village, ended up doing radiation and surgery and more surgery and all types of treatments. But by January 19th of that next year, I was cancer-free. And I have been since January of 2017. So for me, that point in my life taught me so many different things. The first is it allowed me to get to a place where I had no other option but to allow other people to serve me in their gift. It made me realize that I can do absolutely anything. I've never been short on confidence, right? As an adult, because I've done really hard things. But when you get through something like that, there's really nothing that you can do. Everything around me started to feel much smaller. And that's when I realized that I was gonna, go to another level in my career, that I was going to eventually become an entrepreneur. I was going to do really hard things, but none of them would be as hard as what I went through in 2016, 2017. So I say all that to say, we all have everything that we need inside of us to thrive and to live our first class life, right? And we just need to find a way to tap into that so that we can truly and really be able to operate in our gift.
Sorry to all the listeners out there because y'all heard me clapping. I couldn't resist cheering for my good sis here because that is amazing. And I think that just goes to the power of our minds and our bodies' ability to just recoup and revamp and really push through what it is that we're going through. Because you had a physical moment here, but a lot of times whenever we're faced with these physical moments, we'll allow it to become a mental and emotional moment. And not that there aren't emotions that are all encompassed with that, but we take these moments and we sit in them and we allow them to overtake everything, and we feel like the world's going to end. But there is something that happens when we are intentional about, I am going to get through this. Come hell or high water, I am going to get through this. And I think that's key to point out to the first class family because, it starts there, really, because if you would have said, you know what, the world's going to end, my life is over, then you likely would not be sitting here chatting with us today. It started in your mind where you had to be intentional and say, all right, I can do this. I'm going to do this. It's going to be hard, but I'm willing to do the work.
And to be honest, Lindsay, and I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this. That was a point where I had to look for a strength and look for a carrot and look for motivation that was beyond me. If it would have just been up to me to say, all right, well, let me get through this just because, you know, I'm a boss and that's what I do. This wasn't that type of situation. I mean, this was hard. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, it was hard. So I always encourage people when they're thinking, they're saying, I'm going to do this really hard thing. How do I find the motivation? You have to find the why that is stronger than your fear. A lot of times talk about, well, what's the why? You know, I want to be rich. I want to have more things. I want to reclaim my time. What does that mean? Is being rich, is reclaiming your time stronger than the fear of your failure? Is it stronger than the fear of you feeling like you may be ridiculed for what it is that you stand for? What is the why that's stronger than your fear? For me, the whys that were stronger than my fear came down to visualizing my youngest son at the time that he was 4, being able to drive me around when he was 17 or 18 years old. I visualized that. Right? I visualized my son at the time who was 5 years old and is on the autism spectrum, thinking about seeing him walk across the stage to get his high school diploma because he's such a tremendous, smart, amazing person, right? I had to think about my husband, who I've been with now for 20 years, we've been married for 15 years, you know, retiring on that island. You said we were going to. That was the why that was stronger than any fear around how sick I was going to get or how tired I was going to be or how much pain I was going to be in. Those were the things that I had to hold on to. So I always encourage people, dig deep enough to find the why that's stronger than your fear. And that's what's going to get you through the really hard things.
Okay, 2 snaps and a neck roll. Yes, and see, this is why I love Ms. Deana Jean, because we are so aligned in just so many different things that we believe in, that we value, that we talk about. And I know that everyone is just loving all these gems that she is dropping, okay? So, Miss Deana, are you up for a game?
Let's do it. Come on.
It's a perfect time to just pause a moment and play a little game that I like to call First Class Favorites. Okay, so let me get my timer going here. Stopwatch. Timer, 10 seconds. So it's really easy. I'm going to just say a topic, and then you have to give your favorite of that topic. Simple, right? But you got to do it in 10 seconds.
I know. I'm ready.
All right. What is your favorite? We'll start with something easy. What is your favorite color?
Purple.
Go. Oh, yes, purple. We love purple.
Yes, purple.
Yes. What is your favorite book, title, and author? Go.
Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, okay. With 6 seconds to spare, okay? Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Gladwell. What is your favorite song?
Ooh.
Go.
Jagged Edge. Let me see which one, because I love all of them. Jagged Edge. Gotta be. That's my favorite.
Barely made the timer. Barely made it. Okay. Look, y'all don't have to do any shots. Y'all don't have to run any extra laps because she is not missing the buzzer. Okay. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Ooh, Bermuda. We love Bermuda.
Anything that attracts you to
So we
Bermuda?
love Horseshoe Bay, the beach in Bermuda. It's like super, super like beautiful water. It's never too crowded. And a fun fact, I actually went to college with, and I'm pretty good friends with, the premier of Bermuda. So when we go,
Oh,
we get a little bit of the treatment there. It's a beautiful island, but shout out to Dave Burt and Kristen Burt. But yeah, we love Bermuda.
oh, okay. First class life for real, right? What is your favorite activity to do to relax?
Okay, don't judge. Don't judge. My favorite activity to do to relax is to watch true crime documentaries. It is my favorite thing to do to relax. My husband's like, if they find me with a dagger in my heart, they know why it happened. Because it's my favorite thing to relax. It relaxes me.
Listen, hashtag no judgment zone in the first class life family. Okay. I get it. Sometimes we need those things that are completely different than our norm and helps us to just escape and relax. Let's do one more. What is your favorite? No, two more. What is your favorite food?
I love Mexican food. And I would say probably either tacos or fajitas. I'm super simple. Yeah, super simple.
Okay. We often have tacos in this house. Usually Taco Tuesday. We can't help.
We got Cinco de Mayo coming up in a couple of days. So it is what it is. Today's Tuesday. I'm probably going to get some tacos for lunch now that you run it back to my remembrance.
Yes. Lastly, what is a favorite quote of yours that really gets you going?
Okay. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah. And look, that is right aligned with building connections. Okay. Yes. So thank you for playing First Class Favorites. And to all of the First Class family out there, if you are just now tuning in to the First Class Live Show, guess what? You will get access to First Class Favorite things if you are a member of our private Patreon community. Okay. So we have a uniquely curated list of favorite book, song, place to travel, and relaxing things. Okay. So we got your edumacation. If you like music, we got your playlist. And we're all about traveling and seeing the world and experiencing things. So our places to travel. And then obviously we value self-care. So a la the relaxing activities curated by all of our phenomenal First Class Life guests. Okay. So make sure that you subscribe to our private Patreon community where you can get access to that and bonus footage from our lovely guests as well. So meanwhile, I want to hop back into this discussion as we are wrapping up. So I want to know what factor of First Class Life resonates with you the most. And let me take a pause because, again, if you are new to the show, then First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness to be able to maximize your impact out in the world. So if you want to know what those factors are, make sure you go watch the very first episode of the First Class Life Show or head to firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, First Class Life, 10 Key Factors Towards Creating a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, Miss Deana Jean, which factor of First Class Life resonates with you the most?
So many, but I have to pick intentional. And I have to pick intentional because that is really the core of my brand. The name of my company is Intentional Excellence, and the community that I lead is actually called the Intentional Success Tribe. Intention for me is really what allows any person to go from good to great. I believe that when you set an intention and when you are clear about how to get to where you want to go, there's absolutely no force that can stop you. And moving in intention does not require you to have a certain level of degree. It doesn't require you to have a specific pedigree. It just requires you to write the vision, make it plain, and take the actions required for you to accomplish your goals. So intentional, absolutely hands down.
Yes. And we've been talking about, the power of intention this whole show. So it's only fitting. So I want you to tell us a little bit about your products and services and how you serve the world today. I know you kind of just told us the name of your business, but how do you really serve the people that you are?
So I have been called to serve exactly the type of women that we've been talking about. High achieving, high performing women who have challenges getting out of their heads and into action because they're used to doing and being for everyone. So I serve them in a few different ways. One way that I serve them is through my VIP Day Done in a Day program, where I actually help women who have already been able to build 6- and 7-figure businesses to actually create signature programs that allow for them to have more impact with less time and to 3x their earnings. So I help them to be able to optimize things that they already have and create a signature program that allows for them to be able to thrive while still having huge impact. In addition to that, I also lead a community, a connection container, where I bring together these types of women so that they can connect and collaborate with each other with intention. So one of the hardest things about being a first-class woman and a first-class person is that it's hard sometimes to know who to trust. It's difficult to find intentional collaboration partners. So I pride myself in being a master connector and someone who has tremendous discernment. And folks join my container because they want to be able to work with a vetted group of other entrepreneurial women who they can create offers with, do events with, run clubhouse rooms with, create partnerships with. So we do that in my boutique container. And then finally, probably my favorite thing to do is I am a professional event host and MC. So I support high achieving, high performing women who want to be able to lead a retreat, a summit, some type of conversion event, a masterclass. And this is where my sales background comes in. I help them to be able to plan out the arc of that event and serve as their MC to ensure that they are able to convert folks into their high revenue programs. So I do all of that with the intention of creating intentional partnerships, connection, and collaboration for high performing women.
Yes. So listen, if y'all need any of those things, y'all know exactly who to go to. Okay. Just go check out the show notes where you will find all of the links to all of her different ways that you can work with her, how she can serve you, and how you can continue to be intentional. All right. So let everybody know, how can we find you on the internet streets?
So you can find me on Instagram under Intentional Success Tribe. You can also find me in Clubhouse, of course, on those Clubhouse streets. Love to connect with people there. I'm under Deana Jean there, so my first and last name. And then finally, if you are an entrepreneurial woman and you actually want to be in an environment where you can connect with other entrepreneurial women who want to be allies, who want to be co-conspirators, who want to be partners and collaborators with you, the first kind of path to that is my free Facebook group, the Intentional Success Tribe Facebook group. We'd love to serve you in there and meet you and learn more about you and find opportunities to be able to help you make intentional connections.
Yes. Well, y'all heard it. All right. Y'all heard it here. Make sure you connect with the lovely Deana Jean and join the community if that's what you're searching for, as far as being around like-minded people with intentional and ready to go mindsets to collaborate, that collaboration over competition. So thank you again, Miss Deana Jean. Are there any final words that you would like to share with the First Class family?
Really, I just want to be able to leave folks with, first of all, thank you so much, Lindsay, for having me. I know how important it is and how sacred community space is. So I am honored and I am really privileged that you've allowed me to be able to share your sacred space with you. And I would just tell folks, continue to move with intention. Lindsay and I have not known each other very long. We've probably had, This is our second face-to-face, if you want to call it face-to-face engagement. We've done some clubhouse rooms together, but we've been able to build trust and collaboration and find opportunities to add value to one another. And we're going to continue to do that. When you move with intention, you will attract exactly the type of energy that will propel you to that next level of greatness. So move with intention.
Okay, and on that, we drop the mic. Thank you again for being a phenomenal guest. And thank you, First Class family, for tuning in to another episode of the First Class Life Show. I know that you can be doing anything in the world, but you have spent your time here with us today, and we do not take that lightly. We appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us to pour into you today. And just make sure you continue to go out there and maximize your impact and to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Until next time, see you later. Bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it. Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com.